want to do is I want to talk about, you can't be a co-host without bringing information. Normally, you're supposed to go to the Google, you're supposed to find something, and then bring it in and talk about it. But I know you are the Google. So what did you bring?
I brought the 5 negative impacts of a codependent business. I wrote this back in October, actually, but it was spawned because literally I could think of exact situations in each of these cases. The big one is being too reliant on the income of one key customers. A lot of business owners have a problem with that, a lot. And I used to
a lot of times, Sherré, they start their business with that client.
Yeah, right. And one of the things I say, I'm not going to spend a lot of time there because that's a pretty common problem, is that a lot of times a startup business will say, if I could just get one customer, well, if you're being that single-minded, you might as well close your doors now. Why aren't you thinking about multiple segments of customers from the get-go, right? But then the other 4 are a key employee who knows more than you do.
Let's dig with one of them, and then we'll come back and get to the rest of them.
Okay, so how much time do we have?
We got about 2 minutes.
Okay, so the next one is a key employee who knows more than you do. And
everybody needs a Julie.
Yes. However,
there's a segment of my business I could not do without her.
So what is very important, though, is it's no different than the business owner getting hit by the truck syndrome or getting hit by the bus syndrome. You need to be documenting things and processing things. So if there's a day that Julie's not here or a week that Julie's not here, that something can still be done on a temporary basis.
Bite your tongue.
Well, it's all about process. And
Julie
procedure.
might want a week vacation someday too.
And so, but this is really important. The one thing that was very weird about me from the very beginning is the minute something was done more than once, it's a process and procedure. I have a process and procedure for everything.
Right.
And that is why interns are extremely profitable for me because I don't have to babysit them.
And that's so hard for companies like me where the Julie is the only person doing it. So you don't see on the front end why the processes are important until they're not there.
Knowing Julie and how organized.
She probably already has it.
She already has it. She already has it.
Yeah.
Great guest, and I want to give her the time.
So we've got 2 in. So what's number 3?
Okay, number 3 is a vendor or supplier that is critical to your deliverables, so critical that if something happens to them, you're screwed. Okay?
Let me remind everybody. These are 5 negative impacts
of a
codependent business.
That basically says you're too codependent on something.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So the vendor or supplier that is critical to your deliveries. Why is this an issue? Well, first of all, you should have backups always because you just never know, right? They might get really busy. You can't expect them to be only for you.
Well, Sherré,
and then also they can start turning the dime where they start dictating how things go, and that's when it really becomes a problem.
In my business years ago, I had certain, that sloppy Joe that I like, there was a certain meat and there was a certain sauce that I needed. The minute the supplier knew that, the price went up. So you really hit on something, no doubt about it.
Yeah. And prices go up. Yeah, that's one of the things I mentioned there. Okay, so the 4th one is a process that no longer works. All right. So if it ain't broken, don't fix it. But yet there's a problem. So seriously, do you have something that you've been doing for years and it needs to be improved? You need to take it to another level, or it's an old school process that is just not serving you anymore. That's
really hard. That's where somebody like you coming in can help us see that there is a more efficient, productive way to do that.
Well, and a lot of times it's not just a process that's no longer working; it's also a lack of process, right?
Right.
So that's it too.
Okay.
And then the 5th one is you, the business owner.
No.
Nothing can move forward
without
you. Nothing can move forward without you. And that's probably the biggest problem, as you can see, when you're trying to sell a business and the business there's a ball and chain between the business owner and the business. It's going to be really hard to sell that business.
And this is probably, I'll be honest with you, all 5 of these are negative equity values for small businesses.
Absolutely.
This last one is probably the biggest.
It is the biggest. I always save the biggest for last, right? For exactly that reason. Yep.
So when you run into an owner that is all things to all people,
Yes.
right? How do you get them to move past that? Because a lot of times it's character. Character is not the right word. It's in their DNA, right?
It's in their DNA. There's two things that happen that I see. One is, oh, we can't afford to hand this off. And then the second thing is, but then they say they don't have enough time to get everything done. And so that is what.
I don't have enough time to train somebody to do it.
Right, exactly. It goes on and on and on,
Right.
right? So that's what really inspired almost 20 years ago, our income-based time management. What I find is when we bring this to the forefront and we have them look at their time and how they would like to be spending, too many business owners are spending time in income-sustaining and income-supporting roles. And depending on the business model, they might need to be out there generating. They might need to be out there income generating and producing until they have more people underneath them, and then they can be a true CEO, right? And then what a leader or a business owner really needs to be focusing on, and none of them are focusing on, is income enhancing, which speaks right to what you're trying to get.
So I've made this statement for years, and I hate this because every time I make a big, bold statement, Sherré wants to smack me, but I'm going to say it anyways. So I've said this for years. The best way to make more money is to hire more staff. I've always been a believer that good quality people produce more revenue and will help you produce profit.
The perfect example is the law.
You mean you're not going to disagree with me on that one?
Not at all.
All
not
right,
at all.
I got one.
But here's the thing. When it comes to income, whether it's subbing it out or hiring it in, whether it's a W-2 or a 1099, it doesn't matter.
That's irrelevant.
Okay, it's irrelevant. The firm was a law firm. Our income-based time management was originally inspired by billable per hour firms, okay? And this was somebody who wanted to have more billable hours but work less hours. Woo, that's really in conflict, right? So we looked at where the time was being spent, and we saw, hire somebody for like 10 hours. To take off some of that accounting, some of that administrative. Well, very quickly, that person grew to 20 and 30 hours.
Right.
And very quickly, that person started doing research and billing at a much higher rate and paid for themselves threefold. Right? But then I was sitting across the table from a plant manager who said that their production line was just the cost of doing business. And I'm like, what? How is that possible? What would happen if the production line just stopped, like, right now? And he was like, well, that wouldn't be good. And I go, so you got to stop thinking that way. They are income producers. Then you are income everything because you're the plant manager here. And so it's really been eye-opening. When I bring this across the country to CEOs, it really changes. I'll have a CEO that says when I first introduce this, you're not going to convince me that customer service or this person or that person is not just the cost of doing business. And then I take them through the process and they're like, okay, you convinced me.
Yeah. So because I want to move on.
Yes.
Do the recap, just the bullet points, 5 negative impacts of a codependent business.
So does your business depend too much on the income of a key customer, a key employee who knows more than you do, a vendor or supplier that is critical to your deliverables, a process that no longer works or doesn't exist, or you yourself to move anything forward?
Okay. You are listening to Local Business.